I know my way of describing figures is quite gross right now, but this is like diarrhea latte color. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven from X Kurogani Studio today with a scale figure review, and this is a figure which I have always wanted to at least unbox and review once. Whether I will keep it or not, I'm not so sure because there is the Amakuni one coming soon, which I like the design a lot more compared to this one. What we are looking at over here is Alta's 1/7 scale Goddess of Victory Nikke Viper Toxic Rabbit version, which was released back on the 18th of September 2025, that was last year, at a price of 21,800 yen before taxes or shipping. So if you got this figure from Ami at full price where they charge the Japanese GST, this is closer to 23,000 yen plus, which is way too expensive to me for what we're getting over here, you know, just a plain bunny girl figure. Not to mention, the pose is also fairly pedestrian, fairly simple. And I couldn't justify 23,000 yen for one of these. So I kept waiting and waiting, hoping for the price to fall, hoping for bargain bin to happen, and it never happened. The price remained stable around the 20 to 22,000 yen range no matter where I looked on Ami on H12J, and if I went to Mercari Japan, no private sellers in general over in Japan, they are still asking for a lot of money for this thing, anywhere between 21,000 to 24,000 yen. Any lower than that, it would be pre-owned. So I held off my purchase all these months. And finally, I got her off Hobby Link Japan for 17,440 yen. Right? So, yeah, just a few thousand yen less, which may not seem like much, but when you combine that with the cheapest airmail I could find, which is ECMS on HLJ, cost me like 2,700 yen to ship this from Japan to my country. So with the figure, in total, 20,200 yen. Alright, that is a price I can accept, and I hit the purchase button. So here we are. Meanwhile, for the height of the figure, including the base all the way to the top of her head over here, I've done my measurements earlier. I just dropped this thing on the floor and something is broken, right? But I've measured it earlier, 27 centimeters including the base and the bunny ears. If you subtract that from the bottom of her foot all the way to the top of her head, 25 centimeters at 1/7, which is around the right size. Meanwhile, for the box, I thought Alta has stopped making these kind of boxes because the last few Alta figures I purchased came with a traditional paper cardboard box like Mamin Kitagawa, but no, we still have boxes like this, which I am quite fond of, even though they don't protect the figure much, you know. But it is very pretty, right? We all like aesthetic stuff. We all like pretty stuff in general. And as a guy, I'm really fond of all this pink over here. Shift Up Corporation sticker for authenticity. So the box is an 8 out of 10 for me, I guess. I can't give it any higher because this is not protecting the figure much. But this is just me nitpicking at this point. And moving on to the sculpt. Well, this reminds me of my Scarhawk figure from FGO from a few years ago, which I also reviewed on this channel during the early days of this channel. And we are getting more of the same over here, where you're getting a sculpt that is perfect. There are no flaws to be found on the entire figure regardless of where you look at, but at the same time, it is just a bunny girl, which means you're not getting a lot of details, and they are making up for that in the paint work ever so slightly. We'll get to that in a second. So if you look at the face of the figure, well, this is Alta we're talking about. They can't be screwing up anything, so face is all good. The face gets an easy 8.5 or 9 out of 10. Like, I'm not giving it full points just because I'm a bit salty about how this figure is low detail. Just finding excuses for not giving full points even though there's nothing wrong with the face. Meanwhile, there's this small gray color or black color spot right under her eye. I thought it was a dust spot. I thought it was a quality control issue, and then I went and checked out Viper's character design. No, she does have a mole right under her eye over here, a small one. So that's part of the character design. Good to know that the figure is not faulty in any way. Meanwhile, for quality control issues related to sculpt, like parts not fitting or glue leaking out, ugly seam lines, gaps, or imperfections, irregularities on the surface, lack of smoothness. None of it to be found over here, fortunately. So the score I'm giving this figure is an 8 out of 10, and that is as high as it goes for a figure like this. I couldn't give it any higher because it is a low detail figure. Meanwhile, for the paint work, well, they are making up for the low detail in the sculpt by giving her a very shiny paintwork. Yes, on one hand, the very shiny, almost metallic paintwork on her bunny suit is probably the best looking part on this figure. Like, that is where it attracts you to look at the figure a bit more. And the small details like the smartphone she's holding in her hand together with the keychain. Yes, it looks very nice. Everything is nicely painted, very accurately painted. Meanwhile, if there is one part which I'm a bit less happy with, it is the hair, where I'm not sure why, but the colors look a bit bland to me. The shading is definitely very lacking, though that is probably part of the character design, right? Yeah, if the character design has very pale, diarrhea colored hair, like diluted diarrhea, or maybe diarrhea mixed with latte, that kind of color. I know my way of describing figures is quite gross right now, but this is like diarrhea latte color, right? It would have been nicer if we get some color gradients, some shadings along the hair strands over here, but this looks almost plain, right? So I'm just complaining for the sake of it. This could be what the character looks like in the original artwork. Any paint transfer, paint bleeding, or bad painting in general, none of that. And together with the bland colors of her hair but very beautiful colors on her bunny suit, well, the score I can give for the paintwork is only a 7 out of 10. I find the hair to be a big part of the figure, you see, and it is so bland, even though at the same time you don't really look at the back of a figure that much, especially when on this figure there's nothing much to see. Her backside is being covered by her hair after all. But latte diarrhea. Yeah. So moving on to the base over here, I like the base a lot, right? Round plastic disc base, but very tastefully designed and painted. We have champagne gold. And the surface over here, the choice of design they went with, this looks like something you might see in a casino, where you get bunny girls. I've never seen bunny girls in a casino, but anyways, nice base. And even though it is a bit hollow, a bit lightweight, the figure is relatively stable. Relatively, right? Only one foot, only the left foot is plugged into the base with metal foot pegs. So this is not the most stable figure out there. The stability I can give it is a maximum of 7 out of 10. She does wobble a bit, but not too bad. And since the weight distribution is centered, you won't have any leaning issues in the long term. So arriving at the conclusion of my review today, regardless of how much I love Nikke characters, well, I think this Viper figure does not make the cut into my collection. I don't think so, right? I really couldn't wait for the Amakuni one, and I believe Alter is making another Viper figure, but I'm not sure if that is a 1x7 or 1x4. There is only an announcement with an artwork. But this one, on the other hand, I can display her next to my FGO Scarhawk figure. Like, why did I not criticize that Scarhawk figure, but I criticized this one? I think Scarhawk was purple hair waifu, and the paintwork on the hair has some color gradients and looks a bit nicer than this one. This one is a bit bland on the back of the figure. And since I don't plan on owning multiple figures of the same character, like for someone like Viper, there is also a 1x4 coming by Design Coco, right? That's something I'm really interested in. I did not pre-order it. I might regret not pre-ordering it. So this one is like either in 3rd place or 4th place best Viper figure. So she's falling out of my favor, and after I review her today, I'm most likely going to sell it, right? And she won't be hard to sell. However, the price I paid for her, 17,000 yen plus, is indeed reasonable. So I would say that if you're paying 24,000 yen for one, I would say she is not worth that price at all. But if you can get at least a 20% discount, 30% would be even better, then she is still worth adding to your collection. There is such a thing as collecting premium scale figures, but also being a budget collector at the same time. You aim for stuff under 20,000 yen in general, whenever you can. And in that sense, if this falls under that price point, then she's worth looking into. So I hope that you found this figure review today interesting and informative. If it is, please give it a like and subscribe to this channel for more anime figure content. Until then, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon in a few days. Goodbye.